Resource Committee meeting together at 4:25. Keep in prayer, please, Joe.
Yeah, let us pray. Most precious Heavenly Father, just thank you for the opportunity to be there, serve the people, and just give us guidance and wisdom, and give us thank you for freedom. Everything you do for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Shelley, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Frankie Vargas. Present. Bill England.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Jody Fishenbaum. Here. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Here. John Garvin. Chuck Huskin Jr.
Here.
Connie Ward Jordan. Present. Lee Keener. Dick Webb.
Here.
David Thornton. David Walkie Smith. Carrie Callan Watt. John Masters.
Oh.
We do have a quorum.
Any approval of the November 13th regular session minutes?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Moving on down to reports, management resources, Bruce Davis.
Afternoon. How's everybody? I want to say it early. Merry Christmas. Might forget before you get done. I know you have your reports before you, and be glad to answer any questions that you might have. I know you're in a hurry, so.
Do you have any questions for Bruce? Yes, Mr. Peter.
Thank you. Bruce, I just want to thank you in advance for being at the community meeting tomorrow night, or someone representing the your department, so appreciate that.
Be glad to.
Thank you.
Make sure somebody's there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
More questions for Bruce? Yes, Kara.
I'm still not clear what's happening with this hay building operation.
Okay.
So I understand we're buying more equipment
Yes, ma'am.
for how many acres? I think we talked about getting a report, and maybe I've lost it somewhere in the shuffle. But
Okay.
it seems like an excessive amount of equipment for what little property we would have that's available for hay operations. So I'm trying to understand what we're doing.
We purchased one set of haying equipment for both farms earlier in the year, and that was with some money that we had this spring. And visiting with Pat Gwynn, who was over natural resources. We have several small leases that we cannot lease out because either they're not under fence or for some reason or the other that we thought would be productive for us to bail those pieces of land. And then we had an auction with surplus equipment, and with that auction money, we felt like we could buy another set of equipment have one at the Delongy farm and have one at the Kenwood farm, and not have to transport them back and forth, which that's quite a few miles in between. So that was our thinking there. So there's several acres that can be baled and have offered to our citizens for sale at a later date. The way this hay has been the last few years, we felt like it was a good project.
Could I get a report or
Yes, ma'am.
resend if I've missed it somewhere
Okay.
on how many acres this involves and the amount of equipment we purchased and or plan to purchase and the process for how the hay will be sold?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume we can have that in a couple of weeks. It's probably work that's already been done, so if not a week.
Oh, yeah, I think we've got it. I think Pat's been working on it.
So we'll get it before the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
More questions for Bruce? Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Do you have any highlights you need to bring up?
No, we put some pictures in your packet of some of the things, the construction projects that we got going. And then I know it was brought up about the insurance on our community buildings. And they left me with some information. If I could just pass this around for everyone to take one out. That is the community buildings that we have that we plan on putting insurance on. And so it shows where they are, who owns them, and what it's going to cost. So I know that information was asked for in the past, so
Bruce, well, yes, Gary, go ahead.
No, Mr. Chairman, if you, go ahead and I can hold it.
Bruce, we may want to look at some sort of lifting equipment like the old home trucks or something. Because a lot of our citizens has limbs hanging with their house.
I understand, yes.
And, we can't go out and voluntarily help and cut them down because we don't have no insurance.
Well, that's a big liability insurance issue, Curtis, so we need to really check into that to see, I think it'd be safer for us and cheaper in the long run if we would use a contractor.
Well, we may do that, but we need to.
But we can check on, okay, on like a boom truck or a bucket truck.
Bucket truck, yes.
Okay. I'll get some prices on those.
Okay, good. Yes, Karen.
Thank you. On this report, I really appreciate this.
Mhm.
Do every one of these have a contract or agreement that sets out all that on?
They're supposed to,
liability
yes,
insurance?
ma'am.
Could we get copies of that?
Yes, ma'am. And that's handled through risk management.
Okay. Yeah, if we could get copies of that.
Well, I thought they did a good job on that, so, yes.
No, I really appreciate this report. This is helpful. But if we could actually get copies of what those agreements and stuff look like.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Any more questions? Yes, Lee?
Thank you. It comes up quite often about the branches needing to be trimmed and so
It does.
forth. And-
It does.
And the electric, if they're close to high lines, the electric company will help on those issues sometimes. I'm sure you're already working with them, but I know about a week ago, there were some limbs that needed to be trimmed, and I called and Cherokee Nation couldn't do it. Then the electric company came out and did it. So that's another possibility at times. When
Yeah,
it's
we
close to
work hand in
lines.
hand with the electric company, and usually we'll contact them, and we've been in touch with them on several occasions, so if they'll do it, we'll let them do it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Yes, David?
Mr. Davis, I just want to let you know I appreciate all that equipment.
You bet.
Because I've been out and seen the equipment that you had and you was using. And you really did need some, but I appreciate the equipment we got down there.
Big improvement, isn't it?
Oh, man.
Yes, sir.
It's
We
okay.
appreciate y'all letting us buy it.
But anyway, I just
Oh, we didn't have
wanted to
enough?
get to know that
Okay, I'll make
we
some more
have-
copies.
We have seen that
Oh,
equipment, so
How many more do we need? 4 more?
Could you just email it out?
Yeah, I can. Yes, ma'am.
Just email.
They just brought it to me a while ago. Okay.
Any more questions? Bruce?
Good job, Bruce.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Moving on down to real estate services, Ginger Brown.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You have your report in front of you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, Mr. Larry.
Thank you, sir. The Schlockville leases, are they ready or out yet? Or?
Yes, they will go out on the 29th or 30th is what we have planned. The January the 31st is when those bids will be opened there at the community center at Newkirk. And I will send you a copy. I have you on our list to send a copy to you.
Council Lady Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How's our Claremore federal?
Well, status quo. It's under consideration for formal notice to the Cherokee Nation of our options.
Have you contacted them recently?
We contacted them actually weekly. I told you monthly before, but we actually contact them weekly.
Can
Yes,
we arrange an
ma'am.
appointment and go meet with anybody?
We could do that.
Congressman-elect Mullen be of any assistance?
We can sure check that out.
Whatever,
Mhm.
I think Lee and I would go wherever you needed us, so
I'll make a note of that and get back with you.
appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anna?
Sure, on the building that Council Lady Watts is talking about, in the next month or so, can you prepare us an analysis of what it will take to bring that building to a state that it might be utilized by the nation, and what the nation's intent to do with the building is if we took it in our name.
Sure. Has that already been done, Mr. Davis?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Did we let David Moore?
Well, I mean, I don't have it with me, but I
We didn't bring it, but
We
did
can
have
get that to you.
If you
Yes.
could get that to us, because
Sure.
I'm hearing a lot about this building, but I'm also hearing there's a lot of cost associated with it. And I kind of would like to know as a council member whether this is a cost that we can afford. Sometimes you're given something and it's not really a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to, if we're going to go further into exploring this as a business idea, I would like to know more about cost and intent and where that cost is gonna come from. Because right now, we've got a whole lot of things in front of that in the form of need. And I'm just worried about dollars.
We can get that to you in the next
If
month.
you would, I'd
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right.
Any more questions for Ginger? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Number 4, the environmental program, Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon. I'm Wayne Isaacs. Tom was feeling a bit ill today, so I'm here on his behalf. I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Wayne? Yes, Joe.
How is our, I go to the Marcoma facility there about every morning, and I see where we have the recycling for the plastics.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going overall with the truck? And what else do we have as far as aluminum? I should know, but I don't. Is there anything else we can do to enhance that?
Well, I think all that's getting ready to be greatly enhanced with the opening of our new recycling center. And Mr. Davis can speak a little bit on that, the new building that we'll have here at the complex. Right now it's been sporadic, with the outlying offices and everything. But once that center's up and fully operational, then we ought to have a pretty impressive recycling program.
Any more questions for Wayne? Yes, Kara?
Thank you. Will it comply with the Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Act?
I would assume so, yes.
Because I don't think we've been meeting those goals that were set out. Could we have it in context to that at the report?
Certainly.
Thank you, Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
More questions? Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving on down to the Veterans Building, Bruce Davis.
Wayne didn't give you a report. Can I report on the immersion building?
Veterans Building.
No, immersion. We're testing the immersion building every month. Wayne, right? I know it wasn't asked, but it's going to be asked. So, just throwing that out there. We're testing the immersion building every month, and everything's going real well. So there's no health hazards up there. Veterans Center, I'm proud to announce that we're doing the interior plumbing, electrical, wood framing. It's really looking good. If you want to take a tour, call us. We'd be glad to put you on a hard hat and a safety vest and take you over there and give you a tour. We're really proud of it. So it's coming right along. It's on schedule, and it's dried in. We're just ready to schedule activities. And if you'll notice on your report, due for completion, I think in June.
June?
Uh-huh.
June 22nd.
I think so. Before.
That's election day.
Before.
June 22nd.
Before.
Okay.
Anything else on the Veterans Center?
Good report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Question?
Oh, sorry.
On this list was community buildings. I don't see Belfont Nightclub.
Do they have one?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's owned by the nation.
okay.
They've got one.
I'll double check it for you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
That's on that.
Pencil it in, yeah.
Okay.
I do have one.
Yes.
I notice here, you have private owned or Cherokee Nation owned or restricted or trust.
Yes, ma'am.
Were we going to try to insure all of them?
Yes, ma'am. And that was a question that we had. Do we want to do that? Or, this is in our investigative stages, trying to find out who actually owns those buildings and whether we've signed them over to the communities or if we still own them. So it's not our intention to insure them if they don't belong to us.
So if we've helped with the community building,
Yes, ma'am.
but it is not owned by us, you don't
Right.
want it on this list?
I don't think so. We just want to show you what we have out there.
Because I have several that are not on this list, but they're privately, they're on community organization's property.
Right. And you know, we've helped communities build these community buildings, and then we have signed them over to the communities for their responsibility. But in checking on these, they don't have insurance on them. So
But are we gonna buy that insurance if they're owned by the community
if you tell us to,
groups?
we will.
So do you want all of them added on here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll give you some afterwards. then.
Okay. Here's what we're running into. I'll just make this comment. The communities, a lot of them can't afford the insurance. So who's going to insure them? Do we want them to be sitting there without insurance, or do we want to make that commitment to insure those buildings for our communities? That's the question.
Well, the only question I have, if I may continue, is if they're privately owned by a community organization,
Right.
how are we gonna insure them? We don't have an insurable interest.
I understand. Yeah. So that's something for us to think about.
I mean, we have to have something that ties us to that.
Can we
building.
make it mandatory that they have insurance if we sign it over to them?
You could maybe start from this point forward in an agreement. If you signed one, say, here's one that's
Just-
Cherokee owned.
Okay?
Say you were getting ready to sign Marble City Community Building over to a community group, then you could make an agreement with them now, when you turn it over, that says these are the things we need for you to do, and this will be your consideration in return for us giving you a deed. But if
That's,
you- but if
I was
you
just
were-
going to say, that's the word right there, consideration.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Because they're not gonna give you money, so in exchange, there's gotta be some consideration for a valid contract.
right,
So in exchange, you would ask them to keep the building up and provide insurance and do the necessary things so it'll be in good order and be useful to the community. But on these that are private already, you can't make a contract now that forces them to do anything.
no,
And you don't have a way that you really have an insurable interest in those that are privately owned.
right,
I'm certain though that the people, like I don't see Law City on here. And I'm certain, and I don't see Harvard on here. I'm certain those folks would be very agreeable to signing an agreement with you if you provide them money that they will pay the insurance, because they're both, I mean, neither community really, I'm sure they're not insured.
right. Bill, you think your building's insured? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, that's, the majority of them are not. Yeah.
But there's bigger, I think, what I hear you speaking to is what's been expressed from our groups, and I understand groups in other areas too.
Right,
They're concerned, do they have enough liability? They're held, I mean, our groups are growing stronger, I think, across the tribe.
they are.
So if you have 500 people at an event and they may have never been there before, you don't know who they are, they may not even be a tribal citizen,
Yes.
you know.
It's a big concern. That's why we're bringing this out.
So I knew ours specifically asked for technical assistance to say, is the insurance that they're providing out of their budget, because they'll approve that and they get it bid or do something, if I recall correctly, and it's like, is that adequate?
Mhm.
You know, is it adequate for not only their needs, but for the tribe's needs? Because
Just take one accident.
there's supposed to be an agreement, that it's for our use. We gave it to the tribe. It was miraculous. It got put in trust in like 2 years. But it was for the use of that group. So it's not just us and those officers. They're wanting to know, do they have enough coverage? Because it's for their use, so they figure it's on their responsibility to provide that coverage. But they don't know if it's even with being a government and you can't be sued, is it still adequate for what needs to be done? So we were hoping that, risk management would come in and say, here's the package you need, whether we pay for it or the tribe pays for it. We needed that technical assistance to define what that looks like, because they're not experts in this
So
kind of stuff.
do you want to give us that direction? Or someone give us that direction as exactly what you want?
Well, I think you have a paid, trained staff that are supposed to do risk management stuff, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay. Okay.
Just briefly, and I think I got it from what Madam Speaker said earlier, but to the extent there's a privately owned building, they already have it. I mean, we're essentially talking about writing a check, maybe in the form of a grant to go insure their building.
Okay.
As long as that's part of what you're exploring, because, we can't get them on the hook at this point, but we can reach out to them, because even though we don't have an insurable interest, we have an interest in the government to make sure that these privately owned buildings that are held out as Cherokee community buildings
Right.
are safe and liabilities, spread out through insurance. So I guess we'd like just to report back when you get to that point of all the options, covering all the angles that you can think of. If there's angles you haven't thought of, I'm sure we'll give you some guidance. That's kind of what I anticipate. I didn't think it'd be happening in a month, but I know it'll take a while to get that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, the truth is, Bruce, you're never gonna have enough insurance. If you're like I am, and I bet everybody on this council is, how much insurance you have is dictated by how much money you can spend. I mean, that's just reality. If you have a policy for $100,000, they sue you for $1 million, that policy is not gonna come near if there's been a serious accident.
No.
State of Oklahoma, I think they still require us to have, 10, 20, 10 in car insurance. Folks, anybody you hit is gonna want more than $10,000. More like 100,000, more like $1 million, but you can only spend so much money on insurance. Now, these that are Cherokee Nation owned, we haven't waived our sovereign immunity, so they can't sue us anyway. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Right.
These that are private owned don't have two nickels probably put together anyway, so they're almost judgment proof.
Couldn't pay for insurance.
We need to have some insurance, but we can never have enough insurance. But we need to develop some overall plan for a flat policy and put it in any future agreements that we make with the community buildings. As we give them money, this is another way you can tie a string to them. Maybe we don't own them, but as we give them money, we slip that requirement in and explain to them that they must carry insurance in a minimum amount of X.
Okay.
Whatever you deem is minimally sufficient. And you would probably write that into your policy. And that's how you pick up all these private folks here.
Okay.
I mean, that's really the only way you can, but they're gonna come back to you for more money. And when they do, make insurance a requirement of getting that money.
Okay.
Would be my suggestion.
You need to, Bruce, you might want to get us a policy of some sort, or what you want to present us something that we work on.
Okay. We have it.
Okay, Bruce, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Jack.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to consider a resolution approved for the BIA to approve the lease on the wind energy project at Cherokee. And I believe Mr. Evans has copies of the resolution to pass down.
Second.
I've got to amend the,
Here's the resolution.
amend the agenda for this.
Yes, item number 3.
Item number 3.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
until I see this, I don't know how I'm gonna vote on approving or opposing anything.
We'll amend the agenda so we can back up there again. Jack, are you the sponsor on this?
Yes.
Does everyone want to be a sponsor on this? Yeah. I don't want to be a sponsor.
I don't.
Jack, you want to take this?
Oh, I had it set as item number 3. We have 2 other items. But if you prefer, I could do it now.
Move on down to new business and come back to this item. Move on down to new business. Resolution number 12153. Kara, you want to take that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let it be noted that the chairman is my co-sponsor for this, but since he's chairing the meeting, he can't present it. So this is a request, a resolution supporting a request for a matching grant from the EPA for $30,000 with no match required, which would become available. Money would become available October 1, 2013. And of course, we're in Region 6. So it provide cross-functional or integrated pesticide management training in the community at high-risk populations, as well as staff training and compliance with EPA implementation plans concerning pesticides. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And Mr. Chairman, Wayne, does this need to go to full council tonight, or can it wait? Okay, so if there's no objection from the committee, it needs to go to full council tonight.
Yes.
And I think the second one does as well. Thank you.
Mr.
Moving
Chair,
on down to item
Mr.
12.
Chair,
Yes.
I think we all want to be sponsors on that, don't
Yes.
we? Or some maybe want to. Yes.
I think everybody wants to be a sponsor, but just to be clear.
This is on number 1.
I have no objections. Whoever wants to be a sponsor is welcome to be added for me.
Right. We'll pause up, see who wants to be a sponsor. Moving on down to 12154. Jared,
Next is another EPA grant from the federal government. Requires no match. It's for $160,000. Become available October 1, 2013. And it's for in Tribal Environmental Information Exchange Network grant. which, to boil it down, helps provide the infrastructure for the database and such in order for not only internal, but for us to share our data around air quality, water quality, all those things where we take actual hard scientific data. Provides infrastructure that we're able to do that in order to make sure that the data is readily available to be analyzed. And I make a motion to approve and send it to full council tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any questions? Yes,
Is
Ray?
it sponsored as well?
Yes. Who's sponsor? Who else to sponsor? Everyone will be sponsored?
Raise your hands high.
Okay, all in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on down to item number 3. Jack, can you take that?
Yes, this is a resolution for the approval to begin the lease process of Cherokee Nation Schlocko property in the Schlocko Wind Park LLC for the development of the $76.8 million wind farm, subject to the current agricultural leases. And I believe Mr. Slayton is here to answer any questions. And the PowerPoint was passed out, and I made a motion for its approval.
Second.
Do you have any questions? Sean? Yes, sir.
Which parcel will the wind turbines cover? Did you know that at this time?
The specific units themselves, which one will they be on? I think they'll be on all of them.
All of them?
There is, the first page is a map just of the ownership. Then the tower location is on, I guess that would be page 3. Cherokee property is on the left.
So it's on the west portion.
They're on the west and the south, it looks like, of the Schlocko Indian School. That's kind of southwest of that whole area. The only land that's not suitable up there for this particular project is the Tonkawas. 4 out of the 5 other tribes are participating in it, and I apologize for it being kind of dropped on you at the last second. That would be my fault. I should have gotten it here quicker. But having said that, we really believe this is a great project for the nation, and we would like to move forward with that. It does need to have council approval tonight, as they're running that into some deadlines with the developers and the federal government and some of the grants, I believe, to or agreements that they've entered into to begin the work and get it finished by a certain date.
Can you kind of run down the
Sure.
financials on it?
Sure. The property at Schlocko that we own, we need 2 leases to be considered. One is a wind energy evaluation lease, which gives access to the property, and then the wind resources lease, which gives the right to the developer to install and maintain the turbines. Now, long term, what we're going to get for that is we will, with the wind resource lease, we'll get 4% of the gross revenues that's earned when they sell the power. And the estimated value over 40 years is about $15 million to the tribe. The wind energy evaluation lease, that's nominal, just $500 a year. Once it's approved here, then the developer will be responsible for obtaining all the BIA approvals. They do all the work at that level. We have several agriculture leases up there that are, somewhat affected by this, but their activities will not be interrupted other than hunting won't be allowed during the construction period for the safety of the construction workers. Post-construction, all activities can continue, and then at the end of the term, they will return the site as it originally was. Now, what we're going to get for that, we had two options. One, to either do it ourselves and develop it. We elected not to do that after an exhaustive feasibility study that was done and paid for by grant money over a 10-year period. But the developer has offered us $2 million in form of a development fee that'll be paid in 2 phases. And then, Marguerite and Bill are here, and they can probably explain the amount that we earn for the additional wattage in excess of a certain level. But we get $25,000 for anything above 76.8. I'm not a wind guy, so I'm kind of windy, but I'm not a wind guy. The assets that we'll have is we'll have a connection, SSP grid interconnection, which is the power agreement. And then there'll be some permitting, and of course we owned all the data that we've spent with the grant money to collect over these past few years. Reason for the quick trigger is December 17th is when the developer needs commitments from everybody. Like I said, the other 4 tribes have already done that, and they're participating. They'll start construction late first quarter of 2013, and then hope to begin, or have to begin, by the 4th quarter of 2013. So it's a quick turnaround. If you look forward at this, we have the first right of refusal for ownership of the wind park. If we get down the road and the developer decides he wants to sell it, he has to come to us and offer it to us to see if we're interested in developing it. It'd take approximately $30 million for us to be able to do that. It would generate, we believe, a 12.5% return over 40 years, and we think there's going to be up to 18 jobs in that area for this project. Our recommendation is that we execute the wind energy evaluation lease. That's page 12 of this, and kind of defines that this lease between the nation and PNE, which is the developer, gives them the right to access our property for the purpose of measuring the wind energy and performing various permitting functions. Execute the wind resource lease. That lease allows PNE to install and maintain the wind turbines. And then execute the wind development agreement, and that's the one where we're selling our information to them and agreements to them for the $2 million. And then move forward with the final phase of environmental permitting, utilizing the grant dollars that we have left. So, it's my understanding that we have no out-of-pocket expense in this. What the tribe will receive is participation with the other tribes in a wind farm. It's been studied exhaustively, and everybody believes there's enough wind up there to make this thing work. So we'll be participating in an alternative energy project, green energy, and selling that back to the grid. And we'll also get $1 million 2 different times. So $2 million total to the tribe, plus 4% of the revenue once it comes online.
Yes, Joe, Councilman Byrd, your name?
No cost to the tribe, and in this is something that you want presented to the council?
Yes, I
Meeting
believe,
tonight?
I believe tonight the leases have to be approved or at
Is
the
that $2
council.
million at stake?
Sir?
Is that $2 million at stake?
Yes. Yeah, the 17th deadline, for whatever reason, is a hard deadline for this project to move forward, at least for our part. The other 4 tribes are moving forward. They're safe. But I think the developer is up on a kind of a timeline that he has to know, is everybody going to fish or cut bait on this thing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Don Garvin?
Yes, thank you. Yesterday would have been a good day to check them out, see. That wind was really blowing.
I think there's a lot of data on days like that. up there.
Sean, is this going to be connected to Taro in any way, if Cherokee's working on the project?
I'm not sure how that works with the developer. I'm sure that they'll avail themselves of any resources that they can, but they, I'm sure, also have their own crews that know how to install this. Now,
I'd like to see them use as many Cherokee workers as possible. I know they got their own people, but
absolutely.
maybe they could work some of them in.
Yeah, and then also on the, once it's built, the maintaining of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Lady Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, from what I recall historically of the Taro law, I mean, I think that Councilman Garvin has an excellent point that both in the construction and then the jobs of the folks out there, that Indian preference on that trust property has to be given the highest consideration, whether they're contractors or third parties or not. They've agreed to come in. So I would like to understand more about that as well. And I know that there were findings done already, but remind me that we don't have any lesser prairie chicken issues, or how we're dealing with the impact to our hawks and eagles and those kind of things.
Marguerite, have we completed all the environmental studies?
The ABM study has been completed.
Yes. No issues?
No prairie chicken, no bearing legal issues. Bearing legal has to be done in 7 days. So far,
That's a huge yay. Thank you.
Councilor Lady Freddie?
I'm assuming the lease agreement's already been written and negotiated, and was Marcia or our real estate people involved in this? Marcia Haldeman and,
We've been working with it.
okay, so it's ready to go.
yet.
You're working on the lease agreement.
It's been drafted, we did that, needed that, and that's about it.
Oh, so it's not been negotiated then?
The process with P&E it has, but we haven't, it hasn't been through the legal channels here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Councilor Lady Coates?
Thanks. I'm kind of going down the same path it sounded like Councilor Watts was. I have additional questions just about the environmental kinds of impacts. This is actually something we've been looking at for quite a few years, isn't it? Is the
I think the
development of wind
studies
energy.
have been about 10 years up
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So I know we've thought about this for a long time, but there's a portion in here in your PowerPoint. At the end of the lease term, the equipment will be removed and the land returned to original condition by the developer. I guess we would anticipate that wind energy is going to be a fairly long-term, if not infinite, sort of undertaking. So I don't know that we would anticipate an ending to anything here necessarily. But if there was, I'm wondering about the what I've written down as sort of the level of delicacy of the ecosystem, because I know sometimes the reclamation attempts don't work out so well because you've got a very delicate sort of environmental symbiotic sort of situation. This is an area I would presume is just fairly typical prairie grassland.
Farmland, grassland, yeah.
And so we wouldn't anticipate there would be, major issues of any kind in actually reclaiming the land at some point in the future, should that come out?
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's just, the access to the towers themselves, the pad sites, and things like that.
Okay. This is also an industry that's fairly non-polluting. of the environment. So there's not going to be an anticipation of much reaching into ground or earth or groundwater or anything like that.
That's my understanding, yeah.
This particular type. Okay. Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Councilman Nicolay.
Thank you, sir. Well, I've talked to Sean about this before. He knows my feelings. When you put these wind turbines in, that will be it. This land will not be suitable for much of anything else. Prairie chickens, goats, frogs, anything, it's just not going to work. And here's the deal. Once you let these folks in, if they actually do what they tell you they're going to do, they're going to hold it forever. And I'm glad to see it's at least on the western edge of this, because this eastern edge, I've talked to you before, you guys need to put a casino up there. That road between Ark City and Ponca City is heavily traveled. And we haven't done nothing there. And it's all on that highway. Probably 10 miles of that highway. You're going to ruin this land by doing this. I'm against it. And that's, what else can I say? These folks that come in and do this stuff, I've seen them do it out in western Oklahoma. You go out there and look at the wind turbines and see if you want to live under one. The cattle don't graze under it. I don't know if you can farm under it. I'd be afraid, of course, they're up there a ways. They're 300 feet high by the time that whole thing goes this way. People who have been right south of the Red River, they've installed some of these things close to where people live. They can't sell their houses. $2 million is a drop in the bucket over there at C&E. I'm saying, yeah, it's a lot of money, but we can make it up somewhere else. I'm going to be voting against this. I'm going to say the same thing tonight at the full council and a few more things. Thank you.
Councilman Robinson.
Hey, Sean, what are all the risks that are involved as far as challenges, selling electricity, etc.?
Well, I think we have most of that negotiated up front in the power agreement. But is there anything, Bill or Marguerite, that you can think of that isn't in this presentation that we need to address? What are the risks associated with selling the electricity back to the power company?
Well, there is no risk. You've got a contract with them for 40 years.
How many years?
The risk would be having...
It's a 20-year lease with a 20-year renewal. So it's a 40-year contract. P&E is carrying all the risk. That's why we didn't enter into it. We didn't want to do the development of it. So they're carrying all the risk. I guess the risk would be if they didn't perform on the contract.
This is a risk-free proposal?
Well, the risk would be that P&E doesn't perform under the terms of the lease or the contract. So
risk would be minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a little bit of risk.
Sure.
It would be minimized.
So there's zero risk. What are the minimum risks?
that's not what he said, Dave. What he said was that there's minimal risk, and the risk that I see is limited to the developer not performing under the terms of the lease or the contract. Okay. When Julia was asking about them restoring the site, if they didn't, restore it to the original site specs or something like that, or if in the middle of the project it just failed and then they didn't come in and remediate it or whatever, or something happened with the turbine to Dick's point and somebody get hurt or something. But hopefully, the power agreement or the development agreement addresses those type of issues.
Council Lady Coates.
I think Councilor Lay actually had some good points. I wanted to just ask if, in fact, there are houses in the area where this is going to go on at present, if there is cattle grazing that is going on in this area at present.
I personally haven't been up there, so I don't know. I don't know, Marguerite, you or Bill know?
Our land is predominantly crops. The other land is pasture, but that's not ours to say anything on, but we're farming the land that we're proposing.
So So agriculture is the only thing really going on that land right
The
now.
minimum houses, I think, I saw 2 houses up there that are even close to it.
Yeah.
And they have to
And
do
agricultural
something.
activities will not be interrupted, it says.
Mm.
So,
Point of information here, a lot of that is cropland, but some of that is wheat, and there's winter grazing of cattle on that wheat land. It'll be taking place here pretty quick if we ever get any rain to grow the wheat, so.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Council Lady Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Councilwoman Coates' comment, and this is not anywhere near like what you would see from lead, zinc mining,
Sure.
those type of things. But if we have those provisions in there, and I apologize, you handed them out right here, and I'm at the point where I'm done reading while we try to conduct our meetings. So if that's in there, they will have to, is there a mechanism that if they go bankrupt, that there's some parent organization that immediately sets aside, or they close their doors, they set aside money to deinstall and remove that equipment, or that if it is sold as assets, that they should know up front that that responsibility is transferred with that sale, those kind of things. I mean, I assume you guys are doing that, but I hate to assume that when it's the people's, so.
The definitive documents require performance bonds.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Lee Keener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are we going to buy out the agricultural leases, or how are we going to
No,
handle
they will
that?
run.
Sorry?
It will carry right on.
Okay. And even after, during construction and after?
If there's any crops destroyed, they'll be compensated for
By-
during construction.
By P&E?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote on the resolution. All in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
You want to abstain on that, so
One stand. Well, the motion carries now, we'll take this vote now. Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Do we have any announcements? No announcements? Motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Aye. Adjourn.